Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is it. This is the big one. Manchester United travelling to Wolves in the Premier League. Premier League football is back. And also back with me is Mr. Joe Smith. Joe, you excited?
I'm very excited.
Yeah?
Yeah. F Wolves. Do you know what I mean?
Really? Is there any need for that?
Yeah, no,
Bit
I'm
harsh.
having it.
Yeah?
Because everyone else has to have a normal name like Manchester United or Chelsea.
Yeah.
They get to be named after one of the nation's great predators. Wolves.
Wolverhampton.
How do they get that? It's
Wolverhampton
proper, like
Wanderers.
NFL style, innit? Like Seattle Seahawks or whatever. Baltimore Ravens. The Wolverhampton Wolves.
They're just fortunate that Wolverhampton shortens to Wolves.
Oh, I'd never realised that.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's just a shorten of the name, isn't it? Don't worry about that then. No.
Right, okay, can you forgive him now?
Off a bit.
Are you going to rescind that F off?
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't realise that Wolves was short for Wolverhampton.
I will not have that language on this channel. No. Listen, in case you've not noticed, Marcus Rashford has been a hot topic this week because he went out on the lash or had a few tequilas or whatever it was in Belfast, a 12-hour bender, I think they were calling it. He's back in the squad, we think. He's been back in training. He should be back in the squad at the time of recording. It sounds like he's going to be back in the squad. What have you made of all this? I mean, should he be back in the team? Should he be in the squad? Should he be on the bench? Last season, he was on the bench because he was late for a meeting. Bit different this time because he missed training and all the rest of it. How do you think this has been handled? How do you think it should be handled?
I think it's been handled okay. Obviously, I don't like the situation. And I think I want to speak to all the people who are saying, what's the difference between this and what Jadon Sancho did? It's favouritism. The only reason, I saw it on Sky today, the only reason that Sancho has been kicked out and Rashford's still here is because Rashford came through the academy and he scored some goals last season. Actually, if Jadon Sancho, when Ten Hag had have come out and said the levels in training weren't good enough, had have privately gone, you know what, boss, you're right, they haven't been good enough, I'm going to step it up, watch this. Instead of going publicly and slagging off the boss, calling him a liar, saying he's been a scapegoat, not apologising and not deleting it for 4 days, maybe things would be different. I hate this thing where one thing happens with one person and it's something remotely similar happens with someone else, therefore they're exactly the same, and any sort of difference in outcome is to do with bias and to do with the inherent hatred of Jadon Sancho from Erik Ten Hag. Fuck off. Rashford has, to take away on the field stuff, was late, yes. Stupid, yes. Idiotic, yes. Do you have to question how much you dedicated? All of these things, yes, you do. But by the sound of it, he's taken responsibility for it. He's apologised, and hopefully it won't happen again. If Sancho had done the same thing, he would be playing for Manchester United now. They are different situations that have been acted in response to and have been dealt with differently because of the actions of the player, not the biased actions of anyone at the management of Manchester United. Rashford has done something stupid. He's taken responsibility. Let's move on.
Nah, I love all that. And just quickly as well, a couple of differences. One, I think Rashford's been fined, from what we gather. A lot of reports saying he got fined 2 weeks' wages. I don't think Sancho hadn't lost any wages out of it. And also, I don't even think Sancho needed to apologise. I think what Sancho needed to do, I agree with what you're saying, is just not do that tweet.
Yeah.
I think had he not done that tweet and not said anything, I don't think the manager would have expected him to come into his training and gone, boss, I'm really sorry I didn't give all my effort. I don't think in training, I don't think he'd have minded him not saying anything about it. The issue was the tweet.
Yeah.
And he knew the tweet was wrong because he deleted it. So I think I agree completely with you. It is different. People sort of saying it's the same. It isn't. I hope that we see a performance from Marcus Rashford because the best way to move on from this is for him to contribute to Manchester United's success this season, or to at least contribute to the Wolves game. And if he has a bad game or he doesn't look like he's up for it, it's just going to add more fuel to the fire, and we can do without it. In terms of objectives this season, I mean, we've gone from looking like we could be on for, challenging on several fronts, to being ambitious in the Champions League, to thinking, is this going to be a season where we can build on last season, where we finished third and won a trophy, to is it a season where we can be in a conversation for top four, to one of, are we even going to make the Europa League spot?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going downhill pretty rapidly, isn't it? What do you think the objectives for Manchester United are this season, as it stands now? Is it time to reevaluate?
I think I know this is very basic and like one game at a time. It's proper just nonsense media trained football bollocks. But I do think we're genuinely at a point where focusing on the end of the season is so out of the realms of what this squad is capable of. I think like bigger picture stuff just needs to go out the window at the minute. generally, I think you don't just focus one game at a time. Obviously, you try and you look at the season, you evaluate, you do this, you do that, and you sort of make plans and strategies. At the moment, we're only playing in 2 competitions anyway, so it's not like the games are so overwhelming that we have to sort of prioritise this, that and the other. Obviously, we need to go strong in the FA Cup, but we have to go strong in the Premier League as well. Play your best team every week, try and make some sort of patterns, try and make some sort of repetition of performances, of players, of personnel, try and get a back 2 partnership going again, try and get a midfield partnership going again, try and get some goals going up front, and see where we are at the start of April, because these next couple of months will make all the difference. The thing is, we're so bad that almost every single week, because there's so many teams above us, almost every week 2 of them are playing each other. So 2 of like Newcastle, Villa, Tottenham, Arsenal, City, Liverpool, every week 2 of them are playing each other. So they're dropping points all the time. You don't have to be that good to finish top 4. We could definitely still finish top 4, but I wouldn't be thinking about that now. Just think about win this game, what next? Win that game, what next? And then, like I said, start of April, we can come back to it. And if we're within a handful of points of 5th or 4th, depending on what's going to get Champions League, then you can think, right, maybe we do this for this game and this for that game. But for now, you don't have that many games. Play your strongest team every week. Try and avoid injuries. And let's see where we are in a couple of months. I don't see how focusing on this almost impossible target is going to help, really.
No, I agree with that. It's so difficult to see where this is going to end up, and I know it's a cliche, but you're right. We are at a stage where you just think focus on the next game, and also see who you've got available for the next game.
Yeah.
Because we've had so many injuries and so many players missing this season, it's almost been untenable. Before we get to predicted 11s, don't forget as well, we want your score predictions. Get your phones out, film yourself in landscape for 30 seconds, giving us your score prediction. Send it to paddockmatchday@gmail.com, and we'll use that as part of our pre-match build-up for the watch along.
We had a couple of faces we don't often see as well on the pre-match predictions the other day as well, which was really good to see. So yeah, send those in, and you'll feature at the start of the watch along, building up the hype, building up the excitement for the game ahead. Thank you very much. Yes,
let's talk about predicted 11s. Give us your team. This is the team you think will play against Wolves.
Yeah, so I've brought Onana back in. There's no knock on Bayindi, but Onana's in a absolute world of pain at the minute, and I think he needs all the confidence he can get, and I think playing games is the only way he's going to get that after the shambles that was the African Cup of Nations, both from a personal and a team perspective. For Cameroon, he was bad, they were awful, and he's fallen out with them, so couldn't have gone any worse really, could it? So he's got to play. Back 4, I know it was Dalot the other day, but I fancy Wan-Bissaka to come in. I think Dalot's a good player, but it's almost a toss of a coin with them too. Who's slightly more fit? Who's played less games in the last month, etc., and then play the other one? Varane, Martinez, we have to keep seeing them. Luke Shaw, we have to keep seeing him. I've gone with the exact same midfield again that we saw the other day. Mainu, Casemiro, Fernandes. Again, people are like, oh, everyone's back fit now, there's no excuse. Well, the first time they've all been back fit for 6 months. And we're going to like Mainu and Casemiro just gel together like fucking Keenan Scholes, are we? When they've never started a professional game together until 3 days ago. Why weren't you perfect? Because they don't know each other. Probably only play football together about 10 times in training. So those two, Bruno Fernandes, that's the midfield I want to see going forward. And the front 3, Rashford's got to come back in. No point knocking this down the line, punishing him. You dropped this, that and the other. He didn't play against Newport. There's your punishment. You've been fined. There's your punishment. Back in. And with this front 3, we're actually starting to see a little bit of fruit from him. I prefer Garnacho on the right. I prefer his crossing ability over his shooting ability. And then Rashford again, actually getting a couple of goals in his last few games. And the same can be said for Højlund. Play those 3. I think other than Dalot, I would be surprised to see any real changes to that, unless for some reason they think Rashford deserves another week out. But for me, I think just start him again.
I agree with what you're saying, and I think that is our strongest front 3, certainly. I think that's probably our strongest team, to be honest with you, in my opinion, because I slightly prefer Wan-Bissaka over Diogo Dalot. Here's my team. Mine's slightly different. This is predicted, don't forget, in case you're wondering, well, why have you put Dalot in if you prefer Wan-Bissaka? This is who I think Erik ten Hag will pick. Now, I've gone with Dalot, and I've also gone with Antony, only because I just wonder whether it might be a little bit of a scenario where Erik ten Hag says, well, it's almost like a punishment that's not a punishment. It's like, right, we're moving on, but you didn't play the last game, so you're not 100% match fit because you haven't played a lot of football, so I'm going to keep you on the bench and then bring you on if I need you. I think he might go down that route. I wouldn't if it was up to me. I would play Rashford, Garnacho and Højlund in the positions you've spoke about, but I just wonder whether he might do that. He might go, look, these are lads that played against Newport. they're, you know, a lot more sharper. I'll start with them. Not what I do, but that's what I think the manager might do.
I can see that.
It's, you know, it's debatable. Get involved in the comments in the chat as well. Let us know what you think about mine and Joe's predicted 11, whether you agree with it, whether you think this is what will happen, whether you've got a different team completely. Also, let us know your preferred 11. Obviously, that's a different one. Let us know who you would prefer to see in the team. Wolves. An interesting team because I think at the start of the season, a lot of people predicted them to go down.
Yeah.
Thought they just, you know, they lost the manager who'd sort of, I think he didn't leave, let's say, a bit miffed off with the lack of transfer activity.
Yeah.
Gary O'Neill came in. Obviously done well at Bournemouth, was it?
Yeah.
Bournemouth he was at, and it was like, okay, he's had a sort of good 6 months at Bournemouth, but is he that great? But they've done quite well, haven't they? Because, you know, at the moment, I think where they're sitting in the table, they're sort of comfortably mid-table, which... No disrespect to Wolves fans, but I bet if you said to them at the beginning of the season, by 21 games in, you'd be in 11th, they'd have bit your hand off.
Yeah, I mean, if they beat us, they go on the same points as us.
Jesus Christ.
That's where they are. The thing is, I mean, and I don't mean this like, I predict it, but I got a lot of stick for predicting Wolves to stay up, I think, in our pre-season
Well,
predictions.
when you say you got a lot of stick, you probably got a lot of stick off Stephen Howson, who just argues with you constantly for no reason.
Yeah, that's true. I think it may have been that. But I got a lot of stick from someone anyway. But the thing is, they've got some decent players who we all know at this level, we've seen it at United, sometimes good players underperform for a season or two. But we're seeing this year. Yeah, exactly. You know, I think Neto's a good player, especially sort of his assistant. I think he's got 10 assists this season in all competitions, which is very good. They've got Hwang Hee-chan as well, who's took a while to sort of, I think for the first season.
He's out though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's out.
You're right, he is a good player.
He's got 11 goals
and it's worth mentioning that. Sorry.
Yeah, but I mean, like, to look at where they are, why they are where they are, he took a little while to get into the team. The first season, he was on the bench most of the time, and now he's obviously got more goals than any United player this season.
He was the lad that was tearing Martinez apart at Old Trafford. Is it Cunha? The lad who,
Mateus Cunha.
Yeah, who looked like one of the best players I'd ever seen at the beginning of the season. Like, who's this guy? I've never even heard of him. And then he was just like running through our defence like it wasn't there.
But again, he's got 8 goals, 6 assists. They've got these players who are just doing bits in different areas. Your assists from Neto, your goals from Hwang, you've got the goals and assists from Cunha. They're just a decent team with some decent players, and it's going to be hard. And also, and I don't know if this stat has changed recently, but since like we've played them like 15 times since they got promoted back to the Premier League about 7 or 8 years ago. I think we've scored more than 1 goal once.
Right.
Like the winning margin in this fixture is 1 goal. And actually, a lot of the time, so United, we've got the stat there actually, played 19 times against them, won 4, drawn 3, lost 12. So that's them against us.
Yeah, I was about
but
to
the goal difference is only minus 17 in those 12 losses.
Yeah.
Like, it's 1 goal almost every single time. And that's ever, by the way. Since they came back up from the Championship, it's even tighter than that. So, you know, it's a very, very difficult.
There was a stage, wasn't there, where we played Wolves like every week.
Yeah.
We played them in the FA Cup, we had FA Cup replays, played them in the league. There were a lot of fixtures close together. They weren't great games, there was a lot of 0-0s there. I remember Bruno's debut, I think was against Wolves, was a 0-0.
Yeah.
I remember there was one of the games that was sort of the beginning and the end for Jose was a 1-1 at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
I think that we were winning and they drew, and then Pogba criticised the tactics and had the vice-captaincy stripped off him. So there's a slight history there, isn't there, where there's been certain games where you can remember and it's not been great for whatever reason. From a United point of view, I think they knocked us out of the FA Cup as well under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, if memory serves. With all that being said, my friend, give us your score prediction.
1-0. Simple. We don't score many against Wolves. They don't concede many. They're undefeated in 8 home games in a row, so it's not going to be a big batter in this. 1-0 Manchester United. Marcus Rashford with a goal.
1-0 Marcus Rashford, yeah.
What are you saying?
I think this absolutely reeks of a 1-1. Like nothing has ever reeked of a 1-1 before. Because I think that's been a result we've had it quite a few times. I mentioned the one with Jose. Didn't we have one as well? Wasn't it 1-1 when Pogba missed the penalty?
Yes, remember? It was. Yeah,
and it was all that drama because Marcus Rashford had took the last one and scored, and Pogba took the next one, and then Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was asked the same question 15 different ways about who should be the penalty taker.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to go with 1-1. Hopefully, obviously, I hope we win. I don't want it to be 1-1, but I think it will be. Let us know whether you agree with Joe, you think United are going to win, or you agree with me, we think we're going to draw, or whether you think Wolves are going to win. Don't forget as well to send us your score predictions at paddockmatchday@gmail.com. Joe, where can people find you?
Joe Smith 93 on Instagram and Twitter.
You know where to find me as well, Jay Marty. This has been the preview for the Wolves game. That's been Joe. I've been Jay. Thanks for watching.